last year, a group of foreigner came to our school and they were doing a project about this peace bench. They are also painting with us, and this peace bench means everyone is sad and they can sit here and they can feel happy. So this peace bench is all about this, and now also I am sitting in this bench and I am feeling so happy.
So a part of me is still there, actually. That's how I feel, is that I brought back a piece of India with me. I brought back those little girls with me, and you don't lose that. It kind of stays embedded in your heart, in your soul, and when you need it most, it reminds you with that little pat, 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 that little flutter that takes you right back to where love is unconditional and peace is all around you. Yeah.
If you want to say peace without opening your mouth, it's a sign language. You just go like this, or like this, or like this. One more is like this.
Take a finger of me.
Oh my gosh! That's a heart. Very good. You're teaching me today.
Well, it's an exciting moment. We're off to India. Surreal will be there. A new surrealist art.
This was sort of uncharted territory for me because I always need to prepare stuff. Then I had a look at the website and saw what you were doing, I think at a boys' school over in Lompoc, and the impact that you had said that it was having on them.
We're here to share the peace chairs with you and the Los Prietos Boys Camp, and they are thrilled to be able to create something for you and share it. They're going to be in your classrooms and help you with any kind of conflict or unhappiness that you might be feeling. You can always go to the peace chair.
And then reflecting on what our girls go through, the emotional struggles that they have to face, and their want to find something interesting to do and meaningful to do. It made a lot of sense to do it at Piyali. It gives them the opportunity to be creative, and they are. I don't know if it's something that these Bengalis are born with, this amazing talent for both performing and visual arts, and I thought it would be very exciting.
Truthfully, when we were getting ready to go, the only thing I had to go on was the success of our Los Prietos Artist Peace Chairs, which this was a whole new concept of benches. I figured that we would approach the project as if it was the Los Prietos Boys Camp and their Artist Peace Chairs, and hoped that that would work.
So I know that Art Peace Imagine usually does the chairs. That's what I had seen on your website. And that's a little bit difficult to come by. Just we have 20 girls in this 5th grade class. Where are we going to get 20 chairs? But we had shifted from our old campus to our new campus. And our old campus, you know, it was small, it was humble, but we had so many memories there. In those classrooms we had these benches. They were a part of our history. And the idea and the thought that we could bring something that's been with us for 9 years and literally been a platform for the girls growing. They ate on those benches, they worked on those benches, they painted on those benches. That was their foundation. And to bring them to the new school, to give them new life, to give them beauty, and to give them meaning was something that I think was spectacular, and something that reminds us not just of peace, because that's what the benches are, but reminds us of where we came from, and how far we've come, and the idea of transformation. That was something that I don't think any other project outside of Art Peace Imagine would have given us the opportunity to do.
Obviously, everything was so new and so different. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew we had to go to an art store in Kolkata, so we took off. We went to the oldest art store in India, 5 generations. And it was such a art dream to go into a place like that because it was so different from anything I'd ever experienced. They had these tunnels where the people would go run back and pick up the things that you had expressed interest in. He was conversant in surely probably 4 or 5 languages, and he was the 5th generation owner. And little by little we came to an understanding, and then he flipped over and started to help. He really wanted to help me find what I needed, which was so transformational because I was terrified. I was terrified that we had embarked on this project and we wouldn't have the things we needed to make it happen. So he became my ally, and it just completely turned over.
I remember walking by and, you know, you had the tables with the umbrella set up, and Anais was there just cleaning brushes. The girls were there on their backs painting with the little smocks on them, and they were uninhibited. Maybe the first day, maybe the first couple of days, they were like, oh goodness, this auntie and this uncle are there, and what do they want to talk to us? But by the 3rd, 4th day, there were 2 groups of the girls, and it was like, oh, when is that group's turn finished so that we get to go out? And them wanting to do that shows so much growth on their part.
We made this bench because if we get sad, we sit that bench and we get happy.
What those little girls produce organically they just are gorgeous. They are works of art.
The benches were the highlight. They took paint and did more than I would ever think you could do with paint, like putting it on their faces, putting it on their hands, putting it on the drop cloth, putting it on each other. And boy, did they put it on those benches, and those benches came alive.
To see their own individual expressions of what they see as peaceful was really interesting too, because every single one of them drew something different. It was either, you know, a butterfly, and there was some girl drew her village, some girl drew a flower, there was hearts, some girl drew a sky, a rainbow, and like to see that this is what they see as peace, and it's all every single one of them had a different idea.
These peace benches are normal. They're just part of the school. It is in PLC's ethos now. When people come and they've never been to school, they say, oh, what's this? And the girls are so casual and straightforward in saying, oh, those are our peace benches. And the little girls who weren't participating and are asked this question, they'll say, oh, those are our peace benches. You sit there if you're sad, and then you will be happy.
Before I left the U.S., I bought 20 mirrors that I could do a portrait class because I'd seen it when I did it at Los Prietos Boys Camp. It brings something out in people when they have to look in the mirror and talk about who they are with colors and crayons and paint. It's different. There's an authenticity and there's a courage.
Because of the society here being as patriarchal as it is and not valuing young girls, no one sees them. You know, they're just an extra body in the house. They're just sort of some breathing entity that's around. The school here actually was established for those within the community who are the poorest of the poor. And by virtue of being the poorest of the poor, they come from the most difficult backgrounds at home. And typically what that means is that for those who are lucky enough to have one or both of their parents, there's a good chance that there's some form of abuse going on. I would say half of them have some form of sexual abuse or harassment that they deal with at least. Maybe closer to 95% experience some form of physical abuse. They are hit, they are beaten. I would say that same percentage, maybe 95, experience some kind of verbal abuse, being told that they're worthless. Our girls go home and the chores that they have are extensive, you know, fetching water, fetching firewood, sweeping, mopping, maybe working at a local little tea stall. And you know, by the time it's dark and they actually get to sit down to do their homework, then they need to cook, all the while probably enduring someone telling them that, why are you wasting your time studying? Go do this, go do that, or being hit.
Well, I know that the girls in Piyali go through a lot, especially together, and they have to live through, you know, things that we've never even had to think about. And I think that going through that together helps them to, like, they're closer and they're more in touch with each other, and they feel each other on that sort of a spiritual level because they've been through everything together.
You watch those little girls struggle with trying to, in effect, paint a favorable portrait of themselves. My favorite by far was a little girl that said, "I love my face." I mean, how gorgeous is that?
I love my face. I love myself.
Hi!
Good morning, Asad.
Uncle, no sir. Good morning, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I walked to school. It was lovely.
Good morning,
Batista. Good morning, Subra.
Good morning, Dad.
Good morning.
What a welcome. Say hello to Bob. Hi, Bob.
Someone also said that Pentecost is down.
Very good. Thank you for meeting me. I missed you. You look beautiful. Thank you. I'm surrounded by these little faces. And on those faces is expressions of curiosity, happiness, what's going to happen next, and me in the center because they're looking at me for that. It's like being a mentor without knowing that you're a mentor. And unbeknownst to those little girls, not was I there just to give and give and give to them, but they gave and gave and gave and gave to me.
I love every single one of them has impacted me in a different way. Like, yes, look at you go. You know, I like playing with them and hanging out with them, and I listen and I talk, and I have more of a closer relation to them. They have so little, and yet they're willing to give so much, and it's incredible. And that's probably another thing that makes me feel really like I spend way too much money on clothes, because these girls literally probably have 2 outfits, and I have way too many. And it's just, I don't know, it makes me feel really greedy that I have spent that much money on clothes when these girls, the amount of money I spend on clothes could buy these girls meals for a year.
I got this packet of cards, you know, pictures that they did, thank you, I love you. Here's one to Bob with two smiley faces, and originally it said Auntie, and then she changed it to Uncle, to Uncle Bob. I was Uncle Bob there, which to me was really cool, and I've come to understand that means it's a note of familiarity, but it's more familiar than Sir, which to me is very touching, that I was Uncle Bob, so I was more familiar to them than occasionally, obviously, they would call me Sir. Is that your face?
We have lots of yellow, lots of red.
Whose face is the yellow one?
Yours.
Friendship was probably the biggest one for me because I saw it a lot between all of them, and between me and the girls was very strong. I mean, like I still send them letters, and I still talk to them, and I still see pictures of them. They're my friends, and I will probably be friends with them for a very, very long time.
So I got a bracelet from this young girl. She wasn't even in our art class. We just ran into her every day at the end of school, and she'd run out and want to take pictures, and somehow there was a special connection between me and this little girl, and when we left, she gave me this bracelet. You know, I've always got that bracelet, and reminds me every day of that experience.
I see an image of a courtyard. It's very green. You can almost smell, if there was a color of peace, it would be a rainbow. So you can smell a rainbow. And in that courtyard, there are probably 20 little girls. However, it feels like 1,000. And they're running at me, jumping, twirling, and impelling themselves directly into my heart. That's what I see when I think about India. And my heart is where they live and where they stay. They represent unconditional love, peace, joy, and happiness.
I think that we showed them that we care, you know, just as much as anybody. We care about them immensely, immensely. And I don't think that they realize just how much they affected us in the long run. Just watching them paint on those days when we just sit and watch them paint, just that alone was something that changed everything, everything.
You know, peace we often think of as the absence of something, the absence of conflict, the absence of war. And it makes peace sound to be passive. Peace and attaining peace is a very active process. It is something that you do, and these girls did peace. They made peace. They engaged with peace. And now, from that process, peace is just within them, and peace is on the campus because that's just where it belongs.